Great to be here on this Tuesday afternoon. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. A lot to get to here on the show. Danny Reed, voice of the Georgia Southern Eagles, will join us. Joe Hamilton, Georgia Tech legendary quarterback, will join us. Had a big game against Notre Dame in the 99 Gator Bowl. Georgia Tech back against Notre Dame this week. We'll also hear from Sean Elliott, Georgia State head football coach. Their first win in program history over a ranked team happened this past weekend. It was number 22 Coastal Carolina. We'll talk to Sean Elliott about that as well. So plenty to get to here on the show. We'll also look at the Braves and Freddie Freeman and where they're at in that situation. But guys, we're coming down to it. 2 weeks to go. Well, I guess 3 weeks to go in the regular season. You got 2 weeks in the championship Saturday still to come. And we are starting to see the oustings pick up. You have P5 openings at LSU, Southern Cal, TCU, Washington State, and now at Virginia Tech as Justin Fuente is out. So another P5 opening. And again, BJ trying to get ahead of obviously early sign day. Used to be you could wait till the end, give your new coach a month plus to get in and recruit, learn about the team, get out there, get his staff together, recruit, get to signing day. Now, you need to have a lot of this stuff done pre-Christmas so you can put yourself in the best scenario to succeed as soon as that new coach comes in. Plus, you have the transfer portal that is just ever populated with guys looking for a place to play. So you can go in and take advantage of those moves while they're out there as well, BJ. So one more on the unemployment line, Justin Fuente, and a guy who, again, do you want to be the guy following the guy? Do you want to be the guy that follows Steve Spurrier at Florida? Did you want to be the guy that followed Bobby Bowden at Florida State? That was Jimbo Fisher. I think he did a tremendous job. Do you want to be the guy that followed Frank Beamer at Virginia Tech? That was Justin Fuente, and he made it not quite 6 seasons.
Yeah, and I don't think this is a huge surprise. Fuente overall, 43-31 in Blacksburg, had a lot of success early on in his tenure. I think we were talking with Christian about this in the show meeting. I think the recent results, the trajectory was not what you wanted probably, so a move made. But Ben, I think, like Kevin said, when you look at these moves, because you might ask, why would Virginia Tech do this when potentially their season could be over in a couple of weeks? And I think the reason is, like Kevin said, you have the recruiting, the early signing period where most teams are signing the vast majority of their classes before Christmas. Not only that, but you have players in the transfer portal. If you go ahead and get your new coach in, there can be more of kind of a line of communication and an understanding for what your scheme is, what your expectations are. You can be more effective not only in recruiting, but also with the transfer portal. And I think you also look around at all the jobs that are open and you ask yourself, do we want to be the last in line? I mean, if there are already 6 or 7 Power 5 jobs open and you assume there will at least be a few more, you don't want to be the last person to hire a coach because your options are going to be limited. And if you can make a move, even if you only have a couple of games left, you can go ahead and start reaching out, start coming up with a plan, have a list of names. So I think this is, in some ways, the new normal in college football. Justin Fuente, a big name, had a lot of success at Memphis, but early on was winning at Virginia Tech, not so much recently. The Hokies have not been great this year. You make the change, and some of the, I mean, who knows what the reality is, but some of the names in stories, social media, Jamie Chadwell potentially, Coastal Carolina, Billy Napier at Louisiana, Joe Moorhead, the offensive coordinator at Oregon, who used to be the head coach at Mississippi State. So the names are out there. We'll see, but I don't think this was a big shock necessarily here, Ben.
No, it wasn't a shocker. And I think Kevin make a great point. Look who you are trying to fill the shoes of. Trying to fill the shoes of a legend. Because BJ, something me and you was talking about. I mean, Virginia Tech is known really for two things. I mean, well, 3. I mean, you got the Sandman, but you got Coach Beamer, you got Michael Vick. Sometimes you got to ask yourself, what are we paying a coach for? Like, is it to maintain a certain status in the ACC? Is it to start, winning our division or outside in the ACC? What is it? Because Virginia Tech is a big brand. I'm not taking that away. But the history in Virginia Tech, BJ, something me and you were talking about. I mean, because when we get to talking about Michael Vick, 99, Some of these kids getting recruited now was born in 99, 2000. So they don't know the history of Virginia Tech. Coach Fuente is all they know. And as of late, it hasn't been good. So, and Kevin, with the early signing period, that speeds up the timeline. But this is what I think they really get rid of him for. It ain't the tradition. It ain't the predecessor or whatever. It ain't, it's perception. When you think of Virginia Tech, BJ and Kevin, I'm not talking about take your analyst hat off, take your ACC knowledge off. If you are just an observer of Virginia Tech, what is it about them to make you say, man, they got a good program? You don't. You don't know what type of program they run. You don't know who their best player is. You don't know who their best player. Because BJ, at one point, they had a great player in college, great player in the league, a great player coming up, the Tyrod Taylors, right? The D'Angelo Halls, the Michael Vicks. When's the last time Virginia Tech had a recognizable player that person went, that he played for the Hokies? So I think it's a perception problem right now. I don't know who the coach is. I don't know what side of football they play. I don't know what side of the ACC they're in. All I do know is in a down ACC year, when Wake Forest, Pitt, and Boston College are playing well, Virginia Tech, they started out the season with a big win against North Carolina. And after that, very, very average. So I do think that Virginia Tech has the brand equity. I do think Kevin and BJ, they're going to have to, quote, make a sexy hire, because I think now more than often, I mean, you want a big-time coach, but you want a coach that a proven track record. I don't know who that's going to be, because Virginia Tech, it has more pressure on it than it probably has in the past. But I'm asking, what do you want from your next coach? Because Coach Beamer did a great job, but if he didn't have Michael Vick, because that helps, right? That helps when you got a transcendent talent like that. I mean, when I was in college, I mean, like I said, I had lady athletes asking me, are we going to play Virginia Tech? I'm like, what you know about Virginia Tech? They go, that Michael Vick dude. I said, I hope to God we do not. When's the last time they had a player like that? What is their recruiting looking like? So I don't know what they inherit, whoever the next coach is at Virginia Tech, but it seems to be a lot more problematic. And Coach Fuente kind of proved that. Beamer did a great job. I'm not taking it. Beamer ball, I get it. A Hall of Fame type career. But sometimes we don't know how bad it is in Blacksburg until the guy behind the guy comes in. So whoever the next guy is, I don't know what the expectation is, but do you expect, what is the expectation in Blacksburg at this point?
Well, I mean, I think the expectation for them is again, you're chasing the Beamer years, BJ, and I know that's why Shane Beamer's name comes up some when you talk about that. But I look at Virginia Tech and I say, look, this is a program that, how did Frank Beamer get it done? Special teams. He recruited 3 stars and made them 4 stars. 4 stars and made them 5 stars in that program. You're in Blacksburg, Virginia. I think you're going to have to outwork folks. And I think in some instances this year, you look at it and say, what could have been with Virginia Tech? There's a young man who the Dogs just got to look at last week named Hendon Hooker. He was a starting quarterback at Virginia Tech last year. How much different would their outlook be if you had a returning starter coming in there at Virginia Tech? We'll never know. But again, I think Virginia Tech's one of those things where you've had a long tenured coach at a place like Virginia Tech. And the question would be, once that guy leaves, is that success sustainable? And I think you asked that with a number of programs, BJ. When you look at a guy that's, had success, I think you go in, maybe look at a guy, Don Nehlen when he was at West Virginia. And then when he retires, is that sustainable at West Virginia? When Rich Rodriguez was there, was that sustainable at West Virginia when he leaves? And, it's kind of ridden the wave. And I think you see that at a number of places. Mac Brown had a lot of success at Texas. When he leaves, is that sustainable? And look where they've been riding the wave. I think you had Bob Stoops kind of handed it over to Lincoln Riley, and they've, had no drop off. There's certain programs I think are immune for that. But I think you kind of know what I'm talking. You get those programs like you're in a town like Blacksburg, Virginia, kind of off the beaten path a little bit. You're going to have to recruit and coach them up to get the most out of that program. When the kind of icon of the program leaves, what's left? And I think that's where Virginia Tech finds themselves right now.
And I think the expectations are still there. I do. I think this is a program with a lot of potential. I know everybody thinks about 99 and the Vic team that went undefeated, made it to the national championship game and played Florida State. But this is a team that's been in the Sugar Bowl fairly recently, been in the Orange Bowl fairly recently, has been in an ACC championship game fairly recently. I mean, Kevin, not that long ago, we were talking about going to one of the games earlier. Not that long ago, they were the standard in that division. And I don't think they're that far off. You know, you're not talking about 2-3 win seasons. You've been around 500, right below 500 one time, 7 wins. So I think they're just looking to take that next step. But I do think this is a program that's known nationally. You have, one of the best entrances, one of the best home field advantages in the country. You have history, you have tradition. But what's fascinating to me about all this is if you have early coaching names, and who knows how real some of this stuff is, Kevin, Ben. A lot of it's rumors, a lot of it's speculation. But if you're Virginia Tech, you might have some interest in some of the same coaches that other openings, other programs have interest in. How does Virginia Tech compare and contrast? I mean, if you're Virginia Tech and there's 2-3 guys that you're looking at, the high likelihood is that the other programs will be looking at those coaches too. I think that's the question, is kind of where do they rank? And I think it's a program with a lot to offer, but I think especially as we see more and more firings, that's just the reality of college football. I think you're going to have some coaches that are top candidates that have a lot of options to look at and choose from.
I mean, I don't know what the perception is right now at Virginia Tech, BJ and Kevin, but I do know the reality of the situation is they're going to have to get a big hire because Fuente he didn't do it. He didn't cut the mustard. It just didn't happen, and it happens. But a team like Virginia Tech, BJ, something Kevin said before the show, Jimbo Fisher, he did his job. One, because he won a natty after replacing Bobby, but obviously you see what Florida State is now. I think now more than ever, you want sustainability. You want somebody that's going to keep your program good to potentially great, but never average. Like, I think that's realistic expectations. For Virginia Tech, I mean, I ain't even think about that, BJ. You got to get the guy you want. You know why? Because Jared Bico, Georgia Southern, they got the guy they wanted. That everybody was saying, where is he going to land? That is what you pay an AD to do. Get the guy we want, not a guy who everybody wants. Get the guy that we want. They got him. So because of Virginia Tech, once again, I hate to do it, Kevin, but the coach Jeremy Pruitt, you don't want that. If I got 10 guys on my list, I better make 2 phone calls because I'm down to number 10. By the time I get to 8, I'm thinking, dude, what is going? Is it us? Yes. If you got guys turning down millions to coach in the ACC, yes, you might want to take a strong look in the mirror. Hopefully that don't happen to Virginia Tech, though.
And again, we'll see how that follows. A lot of coaching openings right now, and BJ and Ben, certainly going to be some more before it's all said and done here with the 2021 college football season. We'll come back. We'll talk some Georgia Southern football, highest ranked opponent ever at the FBS level to come into Statesboro. It's happening this week. Number 14, BYU taking on Georgia Southern. Danny Reed, the voice of the Eagles, joins us next here on 3 and Out. Going to be a big Saturday in Statesboro this weekend as the highest-ranked FBS team ever to walk into Paulson Stadium. Going to be there this weekend as number 14 BYU takes on Georgia Southern. And joining us here, the voice of the Georgia Southern Eagles, Danny Reed, steps in here on 3 and Out. Danny, welcome to the show. How are you?
Guys, appreciate you having me on. Doing well.
I appreciate you coming on. And again, obviously a wild season there in Statesboro with the slow start, the coaching change, and now here towards the end of the season, you finish with the highest ranked team to come into Paulson in BYU. How's it been being along for the ride that's been 2021 here around this program?
Well, we thought that last year, the COVID year, was going to be the most unique season in program history. This one gives it a run for its money when you have to look for a new head coach only 4 games into the season. You hit a couple of losing streaks, but to get a win last weekend with a new head coach already hired definitely takes a little bit of the strain off the shoulders. It's strange because people are upset about 3 and 7, rightfully so, but knowing that Clay Helton's going to be taking over in a couple of weeks and leading this program into a new signing period, into the offseason, into spring practice, and hopefully getting Georgia Southern back on track, that's got people fired up at the same time. So it's kind of a right brain versus left brain deal. But maybe this weekend Georgia Southern can find a way and knock off BYU, and then people will be able to forget about 3 and 7.
And Danny, I know there's excitement obviously for Saturday, but talk about going out west, getting the first road win of the season, and beating Texas State on Saturday.
You know, it wasn't just the first road win of the year, but Georgia Southern hadn't won a road game since last September against ULM. It had been 7 straight losses, which was tied for the program record for consecutive losses away from home. And it was 2 teams that have really struggled this year, and you could understand why with all the issues on special teams, the number of penalties, especially the 15-yard penalties. And it seemed that the way that they responded with adversity was more adversity, but thankfully Georgia Southern benefited from a really crazy blocked field goal play in the third quarter. They got possession back, and then 2 plays later, Bo Johnson had a 25-yard touchdown catch, and then they put the game away in the fourth when the second-year freshman Jalen White had 50 yards rushing on one drive and then finished it off himself on a 3rd and goal play. It was a lot of the younger guys having an impact when Cam Ransom got the start for the second time this season. True freshman hooked up with true freshman Derwin Burgess for a 48-yard touchdown, and he ends up with 134 yards receiving. Eagle wide receiver hadn't had that much in 12 years. Eldrick Robinson was named Defensive Player of the Week, 12 tackles, including a pick and a tackle and a half for loss. I mean, at this point, you'd like to see as many different guys get looks as possible, but these are guys that were asked to play early, and it just so happens that now you're starting to see how good they can be going into next season.
And Danny, I mean, you mentioned Coach Helton earlier. Obviously, getting him as a new head coach. Jared Binko, one of the guys, went out there and got him. What does that do for the brand of Georgia Southern? Obviously, it's a big brand, but what does that do for a brand like Georgia Southern getting a coach like that?
Well, I think it proves that Georgia Southern's not messing around anymore, and it was an extremely bold move in an off season that's going to have somewhere between a dozen to 20 different hirings and firings. I think there's still more to come. We know the news about Virginia Tech earlier today, but to make a kind of move like that with still 4 games left in the season, it's a very bold thing because with the earlier signing period, you need someone that's going to lead this program back into prominence, but you need that person to be able to execute that early signing class. And Georgia Southern has as many as 13 guys that are committed for the early signing period. So he's had to get in touch with all of them, see where they are in terms of the coaching change and if they're still committed to coming to Statesboro. And it also gets that jump for him to evaluate the talent, evaluate the coaching staff, and see exactly what he needs to add relative to exactly what he wants to do for his own notions when he came to that press conference just a couple of weeks ago. So it's a very fascinating time, and I've used that term a lot, where Georgia Southern has been this season, where they're going to be at the end of the year and where they're going to be by the time next year rolls around. But the idea of having the former head coach of USC come to Statesboro with a Pac-12 title and a Rose Bowl win on his resume, that's something that I didn't think we'd ever be able to talk about. This is real deal.
Danny Reed, voice of the Georgia Southern Eagles, joining us here on 3 and Out. And you talked about Clay Helton coming in there and his role. How big of an advantage is it for him to come in and see the last handful of games, go ahead and start recruiting, go ahead and start handing out scholarship offers, go ahead and be viewing the transfer portal which is already filling up by the day, and really get a head start on this program? And as we've seen, transfer portal guys can turn you around pretty quickly.
So the unfortunate thing is that the first home game he saw against Coastal Carolina, it was in a torrential downpour with about a third of the stands full. We promised him that every home game it doesn't rain, but he still loved the passion of Eagle Nation. He went through the tailgate lot, met as many people as he could. He actually met quite a few Coastal people as well, even though the game didn't turn out the way that Georgia Southern wanted. But to get him in and just the evaluation piece, and with the signing period coming up on December the 15th, class that's very important for Georgia Southern. And he's also been in contact with a lot of area players for the 23-24 seasons, because the understanding is there that while this program needs to fix a lot of things now, you also have to be willing to look down the road a couple of years and be able to build that way as well. The first year would be great to show some progress and all that jazz, but you need to be able to fortify things 2, 3, 5 years down the line, as this program needs to become a program instead of just a one-off where the 2018 season is just the aberration instead of being the norm. And that was the standard here. And it's not that far away from getting back to that, but a bold move like this by Jared Benko to get somebody in with 4 games left in the season gives you a better sense that this can happen more quickly than maybe it would.
Danny, you've seen a lot of true freshmen for Georgia Southern this year. You mentioned a couple of guys. You've seen some walk-ons, injuries all over the place. It's tested depth. How have the young guys responded? Have you seen a freshman class that looks like they can help take Georgia Southern to the next level?
Seeing guys like Eldrick Robinson last week become the defensive player of the week, and Derwin Burgess have a game like he did, have the best receiving game for Georgia Southern wideout since Rajah Andrews, the late Rajah Andrews, back in 2008. It shows you what hard work can do. And, you know, in the case of Eldrick Robinson, he and Mike Edwards have teamed up as 2 true freshmen inside linebackers. That's the first time that 2 true freshmen have ever started at that position at the same time in program history. These guys were on the scout team when the year began. They did not play in the opener against Gardner-Webb, but the coaches started looking at some of the opposing scouting tape and realized, man, these guys are twitchy, these guys are fast. Maybe we should see what we have, considering that they were already down to their 3 and 4 options at inside linebacker anyway because of season-ending injuries. But once they got in to start that Arkansas State game, they really haven't looked back. They fly to the football. They're really good against the run. Robinson is one of the team leaders with 6 tackles for loss, of course, coming off that best career game against Texas State. And it's part of a defense that's had to start 3 true freshmen the last few weeks. When you throw in the safety Tyrell Davis, and what he do last week, he had his first career touchdown on that blocked punt. So when you give these guys opportunities, it's not so much that because they're young they can make plays, but you eventually have to bank a lot of reps, and eventually you can see what these guys are capable of.
App State, Louisiana, Coastal Carolina, you got the rivalry going on right now, you know, with Georgia State. What is realistic expectations in year 1 for Coach Helton next season? Because the one thing that these coaches don't have anymore is time and patience.
It's a good question. I mean, schedule-wise, you're going to get to open with Morgan State, an FCS team, so conceivably a 1-0 record, but you've also got an FBS game at Nebraska, and Lord knows what that program's going to look like, even though they're deciding to hang on to Scott Frost for at least one more year. And you got to figure a way to do some damage in the conference. You've got to go to Georgia State, got to go to Louisiana. You're probably going to have to go to Arkansas State, but we don't know which team that Georgia Southern's going to miss in the West. You get the benefit of hosting Appalachian State, which looks like it's going to be at the end of the season again. You get to host Troy. So you have to pick and choose where you can make a statement as the schedule moves its way throughout the course of the season. But with what Coach Helton is doing right now and the jump that he has gotten, I've got to think that puts the Eagles in a much better spot as to say if he wasn't hired in 2 weeks from now and having to put a class together.
Danny Reed, voice of the Georgia Southern Eagles, our guest here on 3 and Out. And Danny, finally, I know football season winding down, but also you got basketball going on. What does the fall-winter prospects look like for the Eagles there on the hardwood?
Yeah, the good news is the men's team is off to a 2-0 start after D1 victories against Ball State at Hanner last Tuesday and going to South Florida on Saturday in a bye game and beating the Bulls out of the AAC. So 2-0 against Division I teams has been reassuring. Game tonight at 7 o'clock at Hanner against Bob Jones. It is the TP toss night. If you know the history of Eagle basketball, after the first bucket, fans are encouraged to bring their own toilet paper, throw it on the court. We're going to take the technical foul just to bring one of those traditions back. Did it a couple of years ago, couldn't last year because of COVID. That's a 7 o'clock tip against Bob Jones. We're on at 6:30 with the countdown at tip-off.
And there you go. And basketball just getting underway. Danny Reed, the voice of the Georgia Southern Eagles, our guest here on 3 and Out. Danny, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
You got it, boys. Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate it. Danny Reed, voice of the Georgia Southern Eagles, our guest here on 3 and Out. Georgia Southern and BYU in Paulson coming up this weekend. And BJ and Ben, obviously a big test there. But as he said, the focus is to finish as strong as possible against BYU and App. But obviously you're talking about right at a month to go to the early signing period where Clay Helton probably makes his first really big kind of impact on this program.
Sure, and that's been the focus. I mean, that's the talk of college football, even with the season going on, is the early signing period. But Georgia Southern not only has 2 games left, they have 2 massive games left. BYU, the highest ranked team ever, 8-2. They're right outside the top 10 coming to Statesboro, and then Appalachian State in Boone. So there is a lot to focus on here at the finish of the season. If you could win both of those games, wow, what would that mean for the program? Could you get a split? Look, I know everybody's clearly excited about the future, about recruiting, but big games coming up, and I think it starts. Can you get a good showing? Can you get off to a good start? Can you be in this game late, Ben, against BYU, number 14 in the country? Can you be in that game late against late on Saturday? I think those young guys out there especially, and the senior. Look, senior day this weekend. So the young guys and the veterans alike really excited about this opportunity on Saturday.
You get Coach Helton, check. You get your first road win, Kevin, since September of 2020. Wow. You got BYU. You want to try to stay in that game, BJ, because you want to build momentum. And BJ and Kevin, my goodness, if you can go 2-0 against these next 2 opponents, the one thing you got on your side right now is momentum. The one thing you are winning right now is perception, and the one thing you are going to need is ingratiating yourself back into this fan base, because you got a long off season, and I know you winning right now, but Kevin and BJ, we are a week by week fan base, and if you lay an egg against BYU, Coach Helton will feel the wrath of Georgia Southern Nation, even if he ain't coached it down yet.
Yeah, he hadn't quite got to that point yet. We got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll be joined by the great Joe Hamilton, Georgia Tech legend. Georgia Notre Dame coming up this weekend, and he had a tremendous game in the 99 Gator Bowl against Notre Dame, 3 passing touchdowns, even caught one thrown to him from Joe Burns. He'll join us when we return. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Tuesday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Georgia Tech and Notre Dame coming up this weekend. Our next guest, a Georgia Tech legend at quarterback, Heisman Trophy runner-up. Also had a tremendous game against Notre Dame in '99 in the Gator Bowl, 3 touchdown passes, and caught one from Joe Burns in that game. Joe Hamilton joining us here on 3 and Out. Joe, welcome to the show. How are you?
Man, glad to be here, man. I'm doing outstanding. Can't wait, man.
I know. What is it about playing Notre Dame? Obviously, you're the '99 Gator Bowl. It went really well for you there in Jacksonville. What does it kind of mean? Does it still have that same mystique when it says, hey, Notre Dame's on the schedule this week?
Well, it means that it's Notre Dame on the schedule this week. And I remember back when I played there in 1997, the mystique, it's the prestige, it's the Luke Rockne, touchdown Jesus. And sometimes when you get up in that stadium, it's you're starstruck, and it takes a little bit of a time for you to get used to it. So it's all good, man. And I cherish those times, man. And I look forward to it as far as Saturday night.
Joe, take us back to that '99 bowl game in Jacksonville where you put on a show. You were co-MVP. Order a couple of touchdown passes, but you catch a touchdown pass early, and look, fans have seen you do everything, but that was something else, and then you guys end up winning by a touchdown. What was that game like?
Well, because I'm from South Carolina, and and we don't necessarily have a hometown team. I grew up Tony Rice. I grew up in Lou Holtz and all those Jerome Bettis and Ricky Waters and all those guys that. That was my safe haven. At that particular time, that I wanted to beat Notre Dame. Obviously, because we went up there in '97, and I kind of let the team down because I was starstruck, and then coming into that with Archer Denson, I think it was a quarterback Jarius Jackson, and those guys. It was a dream come true. It was a competitive deal to where it's just not a bowl game. It's a good matchup, and if you happen to beat this team, you can go down in history as you beat the great Notre Dame. Bottom line.
And Joe, when you think about this team this year, and kind of like the season they had up and down, had a chance to beat Clemson. I mean, looked really, really impressive against UNC in Mercedes-Benz Dome. Had some games they could have won, late in the games. What does a win against a Notre Dame team, even this late in the season, does for this program moving forward?
Oh my goodness. You're talking about what does a win do? Well, a win solves it all. So you're thinking big time win. I'm thinking more so, hang in there, show you're valiant, show you can compete, show you're not giving up on the season, and those type of things as far as little bit of incremental steps. But the Yellow Jackets, have been a little bit of a disappointment as far as, what the bar was set as, what the expectations were. It's kind of low, so just hanging in there. I don't want to be the guy that's going to be ever on the top of Georgia Tech talking about moral victories. And anything less than winning is a moral victory, and it's a disappointing season.
And Joe, talk about that with Jeff Collins. Obviously, it was a rebuild going from one style of offense to what they were trying to do now. But as you said, they haven't been able to finish some games. Defensively, they've been let down a few times. So, what is it here that Jeff Collins? I know he continues to say, "Look, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. We got to get over that hump." What are you seeing on the field that would make you think that it is, they're right there and that they are very close to turning it around?
Nothing on the field. Nothing on the field that I'm seeing that as far as saying that the Yellow Jackets are turning it around. But off the field, when you're talking about checking some boxes, recruiting, making sure you bring in and galvanizing the recruiting base or the fan base, letting alumni like myself and, Calvin Johnson, those guys come back around, those are good things. But when you're talking about wins and losses, that's what you're going to be judged by. And when I look at our team, the Yellow Jackets, time, at least for the last 4 or 5 weeks, there are no adjustments. There are no in-game. There are no halftime adjustments. The box of checking is coaching and our identity. That's what I'm most disappointed in, that I can't tell you that if somebody, one of my close friends or anybody was to say, what's the identity of this team this year, even in a rebuild, what is it? I can't tell you. that's a little disappointing.
Joe, you've seen a couple of young quarterbacks for Georgia Tech. You've seen, obviously, Jeff Sims. When you're young at that position and you're experiencing the game on the fly, what are some of the things you have to do to take that next step and become more consistent, if you will, at that position?
But you're going to have to sit down in your chair. You're going to have to sit down in your room. You're going to have to sit down on your iPad and just self-evaluate, self-scout, and understand that talent and can't be accepted. You need to get us out of bad plays into good plays if you want to be a really, really good quarterback. And you're going to have to be a utility guy. A lot of Evelyn 10 guys do and maximize their abilities, and that's what it's going to be. And that's another thing you alluded to. Is it on the quarterback? Is it those guys' development? Is Coach Patino doing his due diligence as far as developing those guys? I'm not here to judge those type things, but it's going to take everything, game experience. I think Jeff Sims is a better quarterback, talented-wise, than Jordan Yates, but Jeff Sims is yet to be consistent in our eyes to say, let's lead, you the guy to lead us into the future. So those are some of the type things that where you manipulate the quarterback room, talking to these guys and let them know expectations are here. You're doing this and you're doing that. And sometimes it's very, very tough conversations.
Joe, you were a guy that obviously, when you talk about you had full nuance of the offense. They gave you a chance to go out there and be yourself, and your instincts was able to take over on top of knowing the offense. In today's college football, even with Georgia Tech, they don't give them enough time to go out there and let instincts take over. How important is to make the offense simple so that maybe their instincts can take over and maybe they can play a little better?
Yeah, that's very, very important, but it's in context because when you're dealing with the big boys, Alabama, the Floridas, Georgia, and Ohio State, and guys that's going to be in the college football playoff, yeah, you can simplify it, but he's going to have to show some maturity. Now when you talk about ACC Coastal and trying to get with Jeff Sims and Jordan Yates are right now, and where they're trying to be, is just get us on a simplified game plan to where you can be successful, you can succeed, and this is how we can win. But in big boy league, you're going to have to do way more than that. But the big boys, I'm talking about Stetson Bennett, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, all those guys now, it's going to be a big boy league. So now you almost, what can you eat? What can you digest as a quarterback as far as offensive coordinator, head coach? How can you, enhance my program? Are you a leader? Are you doing those little things? And it's according to where you are as a program, that way you can give it over to a quarterback. Because when you give over your program to a quarterback, it's a delicate deal. I don't know one head coach right now that's giving over their program to a quarterback this season. It's been done before, but I don't know who has total control of a program as a quarterback position right now in college football.
Joe Hamilton joining us here on 3 and Out. And Joe, obviously you had a chance to play with some special players there at Georgia Tech. When you see Jahmyr Gibbs, what do you see in that young man and what the future holds for him?
Well, they frowned upon me and they looked at me like I was crazy when Coach Tashard Choice told me very, very long ago in the first couple of practices of Jahmyr Gibbs, and he's an Alvin Kamara in clone. Can run the route tree, return kick, soft hands, in between the tackles, do it all type of back, and that's what he is. There's nothing can be said more about Jahmyr Gibbs, and I got the ultimate respect for Coach Tashard Choice and how he's handling his quarterback room. I said, God, I knew these guys earn reps, but Jahmyr Gibbs needs to get 30, 35 touches, maybe 40, 45 touches. But that's how good he is. And you want to maximize normally. Those are the guys. Jahmyr Gibbs goes to Ohio State. He goes to a Power 5. It's just because of recruiting he came to Georgia Tech, and every now and then you luck up on those guys. But you got to utilize them, and you got to make sure that this is one of the lifetime guys when they come on your campus. And Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm telling you, he is special.
Joe, finally, if Georgia Tech is going to be in this game late with Notre Dame, what must the Yellow Jackets do on Saturday?
Well, keep in the third and medium. Make sure that it's, if you're going to ground and pound, it's got to be third down when you're offense, third and 4 to 6, preferably third and 3 to 5. And that's going to be a great recipe. Do not turn the ball over. And if you maybe turn it over, it's a glorified punt where it's deep in their territory. That's going to be very, very crucial. And then you got to have to trick them a little bit. You're going to have to have some design, maybe fake field goal, fake punt, kickoff return, hook and ladder, flea flicker. All those type things is going to take is what it's going to take to pull the upset. And you're going to have to play down that hardcore football. That's it. Hardcore football, because you're the underdog, and to think that you're going to line up against Notre Dame and bully them or beat them in the line of scrimmage and overpower them, that's false. You're going to need to steal some possessions and be optimistic to be able to beat Notre Dame, in my opinion.
Legendary quarterback, our guest here on 3 and Out. Joe, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
You guys be easy, man. You guys stay cool.
Will do. Joe Hamilton, our guest here on 3 and Out. And again, I think he said it there. He goes, I said, what have you seen on the field? He said, nothing. It's the off the field stuff that shows the improvement, but they have to transition that into the on the field stuff. And obviously their last 2 games are Notre Dame and Georgia. That's a tall task to show improvement there.
Yeah, the spotlight's on. And, I agree with Joe about the identity. What's the identity? What are the goals? I mean, we were talking about this today, right? Kevin Ben Gibbs, he needs 30 touches. Joe said, heck, 40 touches. He's going to have a huge game if Tech's going to have a chance this weekend.
And if they are giving Gibbs that many touches, it's going to make everybody around them better. You don't even have an offensive identity right now. So I think the best, what we're going to do this week, we're going to give the ball to Gibbs. We're going to give it to him some more, And Kevin, not even to mention, use him in special teams. This kid is electric every time. Listen, if you watch Monday Night Football, the way they use Deebo Samuels, throw him the football, hand him the football, he's a big time player. Give Gibbs a rock.
We've got more to come here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We're streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. Also hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. Today is a amazing day, Ben. It is a historical day. I think one that you would appreciate as much as I appreciate it, more so than maybe a lot of people out there. But today, Ben, BJ Bennett, yes, our BJ Bennett, purchased me breakfast with money and said, "Don't worry, I got." Normally, it's like, "Hey, I got a coupon for a free biscuit."
Whoa, 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 whoa. I don't believe the phraseology was "don't worry, I got you." I believe it was "don't worry, you can get me next time." Was the exact
No. BJ goes, I called BJ. He said, "Where you at?" I said, "I'm almost in the station." I said, "I'm about to get some breakfast." He said, "No, come through and get some breakfast." In the car, he goes, "Hey, I gotta get Kevin something too." And I go, "You getting Kevin something?" At first, I was gonna be like, "Oh, you all right?" And then he was like, "No, I'm all right." And he hit me with no, Kevin was gonna count out the money to me. I think it comes out to $4.26. So you're gonna count out I'm not gonna give you my quarters because I might need them. I'm gonna give you, 5 nickels and 1 penny. Because the BJ goes, nope. But for those of you who don't know, I'm not saying that BJ Bennett is cheap. I'm just saying he's a penny pincher. You ain't gonna get, and BJ knows 2 things. 1, how much you owe him, and 2, when you gonna get him his next meal. Shout out to Kevin Thomas. I saw something I thought I would never see today.
The unbelievable happened today. And I didn't have to go, "Hey, this is for children." The children nuggets. You didn't give me you got me a real sandwich, a real breakfast sandwich. I appreciate it. We'll come back. Sean Elliott going to join us, Take 3 next hour as well. Good to have you back. Hour 2 here. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Again, we are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. You can also catch us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as the radio network here. Glad you are with us. We'll take 3 coming up here in about 15 minutes. But joining us here at the top of the hour, Georgia State head football coach Shawn Elliott joins us here on the program. Coach, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. You guys had a unbelievable win against number 22 Coastal Carolina. Late 2-point conversion. You guys were able to stop that win 42 to 40. First, I believe, ranked win in program history there for Georgia State. How big and how special was that one to get it done last Saturday?
Yeah, it was a really good win for us. Of course, conference opponent and them being ranked 21st, 22nd in the country, whatever it was nice for us to get our first win over a ranked opponent. We went in there and had a really good plan and executed all 3 phases, and our big stop there on the 2-point conversion prevailed us to pull out that game and just enjoy a nice conference win.
And Coach, talk about the finish, the resiliency from your team. Not only did you get the late stop, but you force a turnover, you score 2 touchdowns in the game's final 5 minutes. I mean, talk about that finish and how great it was for your team to go out, make those plays on that stage against that team, and get that historic win.
Yeah, it was really gratifying to see us finish that way. We have been in a lot of very, very close ball games against some very, very good opponents. And we just didn't finish. We played Louisiana Lafayette the Thursday night before and didn't finish on offense, defense, or in our special teams in the last few minutes of that ball game and lose by 4 points down there to another ranked opponent, which was, very disappointing for us. But to have the opportunity to come back and kind of right the ship with the ending the way it happened was really marvelous for everyone involved because we did it in all 3 phases, just the opposite of what we didn't do against Louisiana Lafayette. Took the ball down and scored offensively to go ahead. We actually scored on the 4th down conversion right there at the end. They come down, they take the dog on their drive, push it all the way down, take the ball into the end zone right there, and then have a 2-point try to tie the ball game. And our defense stops, and then we have to end it with the onside kick recovery. So all 3 phases prevailed us, and it was very nice to see.
Hey, Coach, talk a little bit about how much your team grew up last week. I mean, you talk about the Coastal Carolina team that, last 2 years, these guys have been really, really good to be able to do it. Because I always say it's not just that you get to win, it's who you get to win against. How much did your players grow up last week?
I don't think we grew up any last week. We've grown up each week during the season. It's just, it wasn't last week that we put it all together. I mean, we came out on top. We've been doing this for a long time. I mean, we lost on a 4th down play against Auburn back in, I guess, September, and we played pretty good since. We won 3 in a row and then lost a tight one to Louisiana Lafayette down there at their place, and then came back and played a very, very good Coastal team. So we've been growing since the beginning of the season and just had the opportunity to go get us a win against a good Coastal Carolina football program.
Shawn Elliott, Georgia State head football coach, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Coach, your quarterback, Darren Granger, 2 touchdown passes. He's from Conway, goes in and gets a win against the hometown team. I know you've had some quarterback, back and forth throughout the season, seemed to settle on Darren Granger. Talk about what that meant for him and how much he's developed for you here this season at the quarterback spot.
Well, let's all put ourselves in his position. Here's a young man that comes into his hometown of Conway, South Carolina, against Coastal Carolina, the hometown university there, playing in a big contest at quarterback. He's got family. He's got friends. He's probably got some people up there didn't even know he had that was pulling for him. And then goes out. He becomes a Sun Belt Conference Player of the Week. He gets a game ball from our football team in the win and just does a fantastic job in executing all night long. And his throw game, his run game, smart decisions, not turning the football over. And it was just really gratifying to see him. I keep telling him all the time, and I told his family after the game, I said, y'all will never forget this contest. You'll never forget this win and him taking the stage here in his hometown with y'all in attendance. It was a very special night.
And Coach, you mentioned the play earlier, but 4th down and 2, he's calm, composed, throws the touchdown pass to Terrence Dixon to give you guys the lead. How special was that play in particular for him to make on the road with 4th down, right there, the game potentially being on the line?
Yeah, he did a marvelous job delivering that pass. But our 2 wideouts out there really did the great job, Sam Pinckney and Terrence. Out there on the outside, and it's a great route combination that we had called by our offensive coordinator, Brad Glenn, and Darren put it right where he needed to put it. The execution was flawless, the protection was great, and the catch was even better.
The momentum of last week, with a stronger opponent coming in this week.
Well, we've got to continue building. Like I said, we've grown each and every week throughout the season. We're going to have another week here that we're growing. To try to go and defeat a Arkansas State team that's going to come in here to our house at 2:00 in Atlanta, and see if we can keep going. This Sun Belt Conference can get really tight. You never know. We've got a couple of weeks left, and we don't know how it's going to go. This is an opportunity for us to become bowl eligible for the 3rd consecutive year, and it's a big game for us. So we're not looking ahead of Arkansas State. We're preparing just like any other week, and we've got our eyes set on beating them on Saturday.
And Coach, you mentioned bowl eligibility, a possibility with a win this weekend for the 3rd straight year. How much does that mean to your program as you continue to build that you've been able to get that each and every year, to get the extra practice, to get that exposure into the postseason as, again, you continue to build this Georgia State program?
It's a great reward for our guys, our football program to continuously grow. I mean, if you look back on our season and look at our non-conference schedule, it was a really, really tough road. I mean, we started out 1-4. We played some very, very good opponents, and at 1-4, there's a lot of teams that just pack it in and call it a year, and they go get the occasional win. But our team really dug deep and climbed out of that hole, and here we are sitting with a lot to play for here in the next couple of weeks.
And you've won 4 of 5 overall, Coach. You mentioned the non-conference schedule, but, wins over Monroe, Texas State, Georgia Southern, Coastal. Momentum, people talk about that with sports, college football. Have you seen a momentum kind of develop and continue inside your program this season?
Yeah, I think so. I think sports is about momentum, about playing well. And once you start playing well, you start believing, your concentration level gets better, your confidence level gets better, and the momentum continues to build. And I think that's where we are right now. We do have some momentum, and we've got to continue to play with great confidence to have that momentum continue. But it feels good right now. I say feels good just because our players are responding and playing hard with great effort, great enthusiasm, and they look forward to playing each and every week. There's a lot of times in this game of football when you get towards the end of this season, a lot of teams are ready to pack it up. It's been a long year. They've had a lot of tough battles. But our team, I feel like we're just getting started.
You guys just, benefit from playing in the Sun Belt. I mean, the thing about it, you talk about competition week in and week out. There are no off weeks. I mean, you guys it's competitive top to bottom. And like you said, does that competitive nature or that competition week in and week out prepare a team like yours to be prepared for a stretch run like you guys are going on right now?
I think it really gets your attention because we have, first and foremost, a lot of great coaches in this conference, great coaches that recruit a lot of great players, and that develops, of course, great teams. So we've got to stay on top of it. You got to keep your eye on the prize, and you got to keep focused, and that's one thing that gets our attention because we know we have a lot of really, really good coaches and football teams in this league.
Sean Elliott, Georgia State head football coach, our guest here on 3 and Out. Coach, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you guys. I certainly appreciate y'all having me. Anytime I can talk about Georgia State and our football program and our university, I'm thrilled to do it. So thanks again.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it. Sean Elliott joining us here. They've got Arkansas State this weekend and then Troy to finish it up. A chance, as he said, to go get bowl eligible this weekend. That would be 3 years in a row for Georgia State. And as he said, a couple of those close losses early, BJ, and it could be a different story. They could be sitting right there in the discussion to play for a Sun Belt championship.
and great resiliency. You were 1-4. You had, a start to the season with Army, North Carolina, Auburn, almost won that Auburn game, as Coach said, but they've been really hot as of late, 4 wins in 5 games. But Ben, wanted to ask you about Darren Granger. Coach talked about it. You're from Conway. You go back to Coastal Carolina on the road, 4th and 2. You throw the go-ahead touchdown pass, end up being Sunbelt Offensive Player of the Week. I mean, what a moment for him. Just absolutely incredible.
BJ, those are the type. I mean, let's face it. We all, being an athlete, you have an ego, and everybody wants to get recruited by your hometown team, whether you grew up, rooting for them or not. And the fact that he gets to come home and look at the momentum that Coastal Carolina had built in the last 2 years. And look, I mean, I guarantee you, he probably had a section with 60 people in it. And the fact that you did it against your hometown team, the stage couldn't have been bigger. Having that poise, BJ, as you mentioned on 4th down, that's what you play for. Because, look, when it comes to football, you're not going to remember all the games. You're not going to remember all the moments. But that is a moment, and something that Jeff Chandler said, at the Legend Series, he says, the older I get, the better I get. That story will only get better and better as the year goes on. Shout out to that young man. That's why you play, and I'm happy he had his moment.
Absolutely. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll take 3 when we return. It is 3 and Out. Hit us up on Twitter. Love to hear from you at Pigskin Radio. We're streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. You can also catch us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Good to have you here, 3 and Out on this Tuesday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop here with you. Glad you're making us a part of your day. Time for us. BJ not here for this segment. He will be back. I get so used to like, hey, we're all here. He's like, hey, I gotta step away for a minute. I'm like, okay.
No. What it
That's
is,
fine.
Kevin, you still in shock because the breakfast you had today wasn't used by your money.
That threw me for a complete
Hey,
loop.
no. But Kevin, did you look at it before you bid it though? Like, oh
I
no.
was like, yeah, no. Was this yesterday's breakfast sandwich? I mean, Ben, if that happened to you, you'd be flustered for a minute. You'd be like, what?
If I brought you breakfast and I said BJ bought this, do you go, what's wrong with it? No, nothing.
Yeah, was it a misorder?
Okay, well, listen. Well, let's switch with me. I take your sandwich, you take mine.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, just some things leave a shock. That was mine today. Let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. And while BJ's away, we will have the admirable Cam Mercery fill in for BJ and take us around here on Take 3. Go ahead, Cam.
All right, take 1. Who should be a top candidate to replace Justin Fuente at Virginia Tech?
Oh man, see, a top candidate. Man,
a lot of names flying around.
It is. I mean, for me, Kevin. I mean, I do like Jamie Chadwell. I do. I really do, because the thing is, I know we always get into like Jamie Chadwell right now. Okay, is doing incredible things, but everybody wants to know how they stack up. But I don't want the pressure, Kevin, to go from not like no real pressure to through the roof. And once again, you're gonna have to hear Beamer, but Beamer is kind of like 6 years removed, so you're not really. They comparing you to Fuente. So I think Jamie Chadwell will be a big time hire, because you're going up to the big leagues. You're going up in the ACC, to where if Clemson keep doing what they're doing, it's gonna be anybody's game to kind of go and take the mantle who want to run the ACC. So for me, I think of Jamie Chadwell, a guy who's obviously doing big things. Name is on the rise, and I don't think, Kevin, he's a big enough hire to where you don't have to give his resume, but it still kind of got that sex appeal to it, because nowadays it's all about the sexy pick.
Well, he's a coach on the rise. He had Charleston Southern, and really got them playing well. Got the Coastal Carolina job, and we all know what happened last year and this year up until they lost to Georgia Southern. I believe they'd been in the top 25 all season long for Coastal Carolina. So he's done a tremendous job. That's interesting. I will say one name to watch, and I think it's only natural because of who his dad was, and that would be Shane Beamer. And now, Ben, here's the question, though, around Shane Beamer.
Yes.
Is Virginia Tech a better job than South Carolina in terms of how difficult it will be to recruit, in terms of how much money they will pay you, in terms of expectations? And maybe you want lower expectations, but again, is Virginia Tech job, I'd say maybe not say better job. Is Virginia Tech a better situation if you're Shane Beamer than South Carolina?
Yes and no. Hold on. Yes, because Kevin, once again, Shane Beamer wants to go out there and compete right now.
It's the SEC. I get that.
Compete, right? You can compete. Hey, let's face it. When Shane Beamer comes to the SEC media days, Shane Beamer from South Carolina, we got to talk to him because he's head coach. Shane Beamer walks in the ACC media days, they go, Frank Beamer's son. That's the only no part. Like, his whole life, Frank Beamer's son. Well, his name escapes me. The old head coach of Georgetown. What was his name?
John Thompson Jr.
Yeah, the third. Goes there, and obviously it's not what he does. It's compare him to his dad. Well, his dad had Patrick Ewing. His dad had Alonzo Mourning. His dad had Allen Iverson. So for me, yes, Kevin, because let's face it, every young man that loves his dad wants to follow. He obviously got into coaching because of his dad, but he has to start his own legacy. So I would say yes, Kevin, because he gets to compete right now, but no, because I know whose son I am. I get it, but hey man, your dad would have won that game. Would he? My dad had Michael Vick. I get Michael Vick Jr., but I would go yes, because
I think he had Marcus Vick also for a little bit.
Yeah, had Marcus Vick and Tyrod Taylor. So had some pretty good guys.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting. And again, I think that's the bigger question. Do you want to follow in your father's footsteps, or do you want to carve out your own path there at South Carolina? And again, SEC, I'm sure has a little bit of cachet to it as well for Shane Beamer.
Yeah, well, I agree with both of y'all. I couldn't argue both of that. But take 2, this is kind of long. Jimbo Fisher was quoted saying this: "We're going to recruit an unbelievable class this year." He said this Monday. "So I'm the dumbest human being on God's earth to recruit all these guys to A&M. So I go across over there to LSU and go play against them. I want to be at A&M, he said. I plan on being at A&M. I ain't going nowhere and don't want to be nowhere else. I love being right here. Do you guys believe in him?
Absolutely. Absolutely not. It's a Jimbo Fisher we talking about. Now, hold on one second. Jimbo Fisher, the guy who, came behind Bobby Bowden, won a national championship, got mad because they couldn't pay him when you know they couldn't pay you, and left your little nasty little Christmas tree on the front lawn and got up out of it. Go to Texas A&M. And has been quoted in saying, my dream job is LSU. No one asked him for that information. Nobody even asked him that question, and he offered it up. Kevin, coaches, and trust, they don't go together. And I'm talking about college coaches, NFL coaches. Why would Jimbo, listen, why would I do that? You know what he's really saying? Hey, LSU, you want me to come? Y'all have get recruiting class. Make sure I got some guys to go. It's Jimbo Fisher, man. I'm just saying, Kevin, at the end of the day, he has to say that because but behind the scenes, he said, if Coach Orgeron can get 9, I know I can at least get 9.1 or something. I don't trust nothing Jimbo Fisher says. Until Jimbo Fisher is not the head coach at LSU, I ain't trusting nothing he got to say.
Call me naive, but in this case, I will say yes. Again, you're putting together a strong recruiting class. Ben, could he, and again, I don't know this for a fact, but could he be walking into a situation at LSU, maybe not as bad, but kind of like he left at Florida State, where Ed Orgeron's on the way out? I know Ed was saying, I'm still out here trying to recruit, but you're not going to be the coach. You know you're not going to be there. The recruits know you're not going to be there. Are you walking into an LSU program that needs a lot?
Oh, it does.
That needs a lot of recruiting. And again, at this point, even if you're Jimbo and you don't believe what he says, when's he going to be able to take that job? 2 more weeks? 3 more weeks? No, I'm saying. I'm being serious. 3 more weeks. So you're going to give Jimbo 3 weeks to get to early signing period, 2 weeks to get to early signing period, and that's good. I think he's staying. I think he's staying at Texas A&M because I think all these coaches
because he already beat Alabama this year.
He did, but I think all these coaches, all these coaches have ego, and he can look around and say, look, where's the best place for me to win a national championship right now? It's where he's at. Right? You go to LSU, it's going to take you some time. Not that you can't get recruits.
Yeah.
But there are so many guys that have left for the NFL. Ed Orgeron, obviously, and where they're at now, their quarterback situation is crazy. You got 2 guys at Texas A&M that can play, Zach Calzada, and you're going to get Haynes King back next season. So I think he stays. I think he's in it. He's got a sweetheart deal, but he's got a long-term deal. They gave him a 10-year deal, and I think he just got another year added on to that. So he's got a long-term deal, and in the phrase that you use a lot, he can always turn around and go, pay me my money, and he's going to get it there at Texas A&M. And if you leave, I don't believe Texas A&M got to give you any of that. And then Ed Orgeron won a national championship 2 years ago and got fired less than 2 years after that.
Yep.
I think he stays. As frustrating as maybe he's been for the Texas A&M fan base, he still beat Alabama. He's got them in the national discussion. They're good. They're good with Jimbo. They want him to get to an SEC championship game. I think he can do that and probably do it faster than he would at LSU. Because, again, he goes to LSU. He's got to – what he said is not true, not untrue.
Yep. You
go to LSU, you got to beat Texas A&M. You got to beat Auburn. You got to beat Alabama, and you're going to have to do it with lesser players than you currently have at Texas A&M. I don't think he's going in.
Yeah.
Call me naive and stupid, but I think he's not.
I believe he'll stay, too. He's building a nice program over there, recruiting classes each and every year.
Now,
I believe that.
Now, win an SEC championship or a national championship, that's a different story. He might very well dip to go to LSU and maybe finish up the coaching career at the, quote, dream job. But, yeah, I think for now he stays.
Yep, I agree. Take 3, guys. This is an interesting question. Are Ben's 8-2 Tennessee Titans a legitimate Super Bowl contender without a healthy Derrick Henry?
You better listen. You better ask somebody if you don't know now. Okay, now put this in perspective. All right, are they a Super Bowl contender? Yes, because of the way the defense is playing. Julio Jones hasn't been the addition you thought he was going to be, not because of him, but because Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback. But the thing about Tennessee, they're doing it with defense. Kevin Byard and those guys, in that secondary, you got a healthy. Listen. Simmons up front. I mean, I think 5 sacks, had D tackle in the last 2 weeks. These guys are getting it done the old school Titans way. They get it done with defense, and they play an efficient offense. I mean, yes, you're gonna try to go out there and throw the ball to AJ Brown and Julio. But the thing is, they're taking what the opposing defense gives them, but they playing stifling defense to those opposing offense. So yes, and plus, I mean, last night the Rams got embarrassed by San Francisco. You know who gave San Francisco the blueprint? That was them Titans. The Titans played smash mouth football with Aaron Donald. Smash mouth football with Jalen Ramsey. And the boys waving that white flag. So the thing about it is the Titans can still go out there and play smash mouth. You just ain't got that freight train at running back. You're going to do it more by running back by committee than one guy. But the Titans understand how to win. People don't give Mike Vrabel enough credit. The Titans have gotten better since he's been the head coach there. They have not gotten worse. Anybody's going to hand the ball off to a 2,000-yard rusher. And I think that Derrick Henry is still leading the league in rushing, and he hasn't played for 3 weeks. So, yes, 8-2 has to mean something. They still got the rest of the season to go, but I do think they are Super Bowl contenders because they've stared Kansas City in the face and they beat them. And I don't like that Ravens rivalry. As long as the Ravens show up and play like they played against Miami, yes, I think the Titans can beat them. But if they the Ravens of 2020, it's going to be a long season. But yes, Kevin, them 8-2 Titans are legit. And the reason why you know they're legit is because they're doing it without Derrick Henry.
I heard an interesting discussion about this very thing. Derrick Henry goes out and everybody says, oh, there it is. They're still winning without it.
Yep.
And I think we have this discussion every year around draft time, like, are running backs worth it in the first round? And a lot of times we say no. I mean, you lost Derrick Henry, and everybody said the Titans season was over, and they're still winning. How important? I mean, I'm saying serious. How important? Well, you could say it last year. Last year, how important is Zeke Elliott to the Cowboys versus when Dak goes out? Way more important when you lose your quarterback. You lose your running back. You may not be as productive running the football, but you can still win a lot of games without a marquee primo running back. I mean, how many running backs the Kansas City Chiefs had?
They got 30.
Are they all? Are they like all pros and all that?
Since Kareem Hunt, they haven't been the same.
I mean, listen. I get it, but I understand how important a steady running game is. I understand how important a guy you could just hand. Now they got Adrian Peterson of all people running the rock, wearing the number 6. I think he's number 6 or number 8. Either way, he's a single-digit number. But I just think sometimes we devalue it. This is why we really devalue it, Kevin. It's because the Kyle Shanahans of the world. Like those offensive where you plug any running back in there, but you don't see a lot of running games like that. Like we just think that, hey man, can you help us seal games at the end of games? Can you help us win games when it gets cold? Because when it gets cold, as a guy who used to catch the football, I want the rock, but not as much because that thing is cold. Hand the ball off. So I think Derrick Henry and a guy like him brings more to an offense than we give him credit for because those hits become decisions in the third quarter, fourth quarter, because he's leaning on you. And when you look at Derrick Henry's production, when is he at his best? Late in the games. When guys get tired. So his when a guy that big, which I don't know who to compare to, Eddie George, there
isn't anybody.
There isn't anybody, that big, Brandon Jacobs or whatever. But I just think that it shows how good of a team you are when you take the focal point away. That's what the Titans are doing right now. 8-2 looks good, but as we know, it's how you finish the season, not how you look right now. But as of right now, they the best record in the AFC.
And they play in a nice division.
Yeah,
division.
In there with the Jags and
they got
Texans.
essentially about 4 bye weeks. They got the Jags. No offense to BJ, they got the Jags, the Texans twice, and the Dolphins. That's 4 bye weeks right there. That's 12 wins. They get it done.
We'll take them done.
Hey, they can be a contender. Again, they continue winning. I just think it's an interesting thing to watch. Obviously, the run game has not been as good yardage-wise, but they continue to win without that big-time feature back. That's Take 3. We do it every day. This time we got more to come here on 3 Now. We'll continue talking some NFL. Falcons this week, Thursday night against the Patriots. What should the priorities be on a short week? We'll get to that next here on 3 and Out. We got BJ Bennett back here with us on 3 and Out. Ben Troop is here. I am here. Coming up in just a little bit, we'll give away another copy. This is our weekly giveaway. Chance for you to win a signed copy of Uncommon and Unfinished, the Ben Troop story. The book is finished. Ben is unfinished.
Talk about it. Talk to the people, Kevin.
Uncommon and Unfinished.
I like that. No, the book is finished. Ben is unfinished.
I hope the book is finished. I would be a little concerned. I mean,
you get the book and it's like chapter 8, and then it's just
you fill in chapters 9 through 12. It's blank. Fill it in, whatever you wanted it to be.
Says right in the title, unfinished. You figure it out at the end.
BJ, if we sent out a book that wasn't finished, it's in the title. What kind of book is this, sir? I want to give you the ending you want, so we let you write it in. And you got to send the book back when you write it in so we can see what it was.
We can finish the book. It's Uncommon and Unfinished. The Ben Troop story. We will give away a signed copy, coming up in just a little bit. But the Falcons, short week after a horrible showing against the Cowboys, and then they get to turn around and take on the Patriots, who are playing some good football here. Bill Belichick doing a heck of a coaching job. Mac Jones playing really well at the quarterback spot there for the Patriots. And the Falcons, BJ, you like to point this out, 29th in rushing yards per game, 31st in interceptions in the league. They have gotten 3. So if we look at the Falcons, they don't really run the ball well. They don't really block very well on the offensive line. They don't sack the quarterback, and they don't pick the ball off. Other than that, they are a dang good football team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And to me, when I look ahead to Thursday, right, I know Mac Jones has been really good. He has, and give him a lot of credit. But you're facing a rookie quarterback. You are facing a rookie quarterback, and you've got to make some plays defensively. I mean, Ben, especially coming off of a game where you gave up 43 points, including 29 points in one quarter. And I know the offense has, some things they have to figure out too. But defensively, you are second to last in the league with 3 interceptions, and you are last in the league in sacks. So, you wonder
who's last in interceptions.
I think it was the Jets, which actually makes sense.
Oh my God!
But listen, Kevin, you've long said you don't have to be elite defensively. Can you be okay? Well, if you can't pressure the quarterback and you don't make any plays on the ball, that's going to be a really hard goal to reach. So I look at it as you're playing a rookie quarterback. You would think there's some chances to make some plays, confuse them, whatever. You've got to either get to the quarterback or you've got to make some plays on the ball. I mean, last in the league in sacks, second to last in interceptions. If that happens again, you're going to see more results like Sunday. So you've got to find a way to make some plays defensively.
Yeah, BJ, but we keep on saying rookie quarterback as if to say this guy haven't started every game and built confidence in every one of those games. He's not playing like a rookie. He's got those guys in a position to make it back to the playoffs, which shows that Bill Belichick has proven that he's a really, really good coach. Sean McDaniels, I mean, he's out there making sure that this young man is in a position to not have to win the game for it, but not put in a position to lose the game. I mean, he's doing it with a two-headed monster, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. They running the football, playing good deep. Everything Atlanta doesn't do well, the Patriots do well. They run the football. They stay ahead of the chains. They get interceptions. And guess what? They got rid of Stephon Gilmore, and they're still playing well. Why did they get rid of Stephon Gilmore? Because when they gave him a big contract, he wanted more money. Oh, no, you got to go. We don't give you money twice. The only person we give money twice right here is Tom Brady. We got tired of giving him money. So the thing about this Falcons team, they're going to have to get real good real fast because Cordell Patterson needs to play receiver. Mike Davis is going to have to run the football. But guess what they don't do? They don't play defense. A.J. Terrell is still looking really, really good, but you can't tell because of his band of brothers, the other 10 guys. Dante Fowler Jr., Deion Jones. Like, my goodness. It's so hard to try to be complimentary on a defense that Deion Jones, BJ, once again, we were at the game 2 years ago. Deion Jones got shook in the open field by of all people, Jared Goff for a touchdown. I don't know who Deion Jones is. I don't know what's going on with that scheme right now, but we're going to learn a lot about the Falcons on Thursday night because Mac Jones is going to expose them. They're going to, I don't think you got to find holes.
But Ben, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because people hear like a 40-point loss and you go, oh, I see that sometimes in college football. Did you ever lose? I mean, how rare is it to lose by 40 points in the league?
I mean, I lost a lot of games my first 2 years. It was competitive, though. It wasn't in no 40s. But You knew that Dallas was going to come in playing inspired football because they got embarrassed the week before against Denver. Now, it's something that D. Orlando said. When you got CD Lamb and Mari Cooper and those guys, who's going to cover them? The thing about Atlanta is this is your job. This is what you do. Nobody's going to feel sorry for y'all. Go out there and make it happen. I know that Kyle Pitts is the focal point on offense. Kyle Pitts has been incredible this year, BJ and Kevin, but he has 1 touchdown. So he's not affecting the game on the scoreboard. He's affecting the game in the box score. That's not his fault because they're going to obviously take him away when you get in the red zone. But that's just, if you're watching the tape on defense with Atlanta, either they got to lie to them to keep their spirits up, or they got to be like, dude, what? I'm serious, because where do you, BJ, I look at it like this. Me and you have our favorite teams we root for in college. And you know why we root for them? Because we're honest. You know, we're brutally honest when it comes to them. You said something to me, you was like, well, I mean, Florida gave up 50-some points. I said, but we won the game. Now, it don't look like we won the game. Atlanta, it's not even 43-3. People say, who did y'all play, Dallas? Is Dallas that good? No, they're that good against us. Because Dallas was losing 30-0 at home a week prior. 30-0 with the same cast. So I'm asking, who is Atlanta? What is their offensive identity? Mike Davis can't have less touches at the running back position than Cordell Patterson. And for that defense, Kevin and BJ, like you said, well, we can't rush the passer, can't stop the run, can't get off on third down, can't get there with the blitz package. We run out of options, fellas. Coach, what are we supposed to do? DBs, cover the receivers, running backs, make tackles, D-line, get a push, secondary, nothing cheap, nothing deep. Well, what if we don't do that? Well, we're going to look like ourselves then. Because, BJ, at a certain point, you're running out. It ain't Arthur Smith's fault, but you're running out of excuses.
Well, whose fault is it then? I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but whose fault is it?
Well, when I first got to the NFL, and obviously I didn't understand how young of a team we are. We had Kevin Carter, we had Samari Rowe, we had Keith Bullock, we had Albert Haynesworth. We had some veterans on the team. We had Benji Olsen and Brad Hopkins and Aaron Kinney. And at a certain point, the coaches have said all they can say. We know what the scheme is. We know who the guys we're going to have to stop. It's on us, fellas. We got to go out there and make it happen, because want to doesn't mean you're going to get the win. Want to is effort, it's preparation, it's execution. That's it. And right now, I don't see their preparation. I'm pretty sure they're preparing. That want to, I don't see it. And as far as like just execution, I don't see that. So they 1 of 3 in order to be successful. They're gonna always have a great week of practice. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter if you don't execute on the field and you ain't giving good effort. They're gonna have to get the effort better, Kevin and BJ, and that execution. My God, you know why I feel bad for Matty Ice? Because Matty Ice is giving you Matty Ice this season dove on 3rd and 10. The problem was he got 9 yards and they had to get off the field. I'm just saying, man, it's rough out there. It is. I said he dove. He went, I said, Matty. They stuck their hand up with the one hand there, the fist in there. I said, man, just go for it. Old coordinator were like, no, because when Matty Ice is diving in the middle of the field for 3rd and 10, it's gonna be a long season, ladies and gentlemen. So all I can say is go Braves, because it's rough. It's rough right now. I'm just saying it's rough. I'm gonna stick with them Falcons to the end. I mean,
that doesn't exactly inspire confidence for this weekend if all you can say about the Falcons is go Braves.
I always remember when I'm talking to you about that team you love in college, every time I say something complimentary, you'll go, dude. So act the same. You said, real friends, friends don't let friends drive drunk, and friends don't tell each other lies when the tape is all we got. You are what you are on tape. And right now, turn it off, because I can't watch it. It's rough. It is
Falcons
rough.
and Patriots coming up on Thursday. We'll come back. We're going to give away an uncommon and unfinished book, The Ben Troop Story. When we return, we're doing it every single week here on the show. About to be your chance to win one this week. We'll do that next here on 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here on 3 and Out every week leading up to the Super Bowl, correct, Ben?
Yep.
We are going to give away a signed copy of Uncommon and Unfinished, the Ben Troop story with BJ Bennett. Yeah, there you go. I read the whole title off for you. You can see it there online. Or if you can't wait, go to bentroop84.com and you can purchase your copy. But we got you're going to give away a copy each week here on the show. We're going to do that here in just a minute.
Looking at my Rolly, it's about that time. My favorite time of the week. We are giving away, my new book, Uncommon Unfinished, the Ben Troop story, Ben Troop with BJ Bennett. And as Kevin Thomas said last segment, listen, the book is finished.
Yeah, but hold on. We got to address that. Because I'm never going to be able to say the book title again without thinking that it's not finished now because of Kevin. Now I'm going to be like, yeah, it's called Uncommon. Kevin, thanks for that, by the way. Really appreciate
that. To be clear, the book is finished. It's called Uncommon Unfinished, the Ben Troop story with BJ Bennett. I am not the person, but the book is incredible. Make sure, calling the 912-342-7184, 912-342-7184, and the fourth caller will get a copy of my new book, Uncommon Unfinished, the Ben Troop story with BJ Bennett. But something new to add. For those of you who said freebie schmeebie, I don't want no free book. I'm gonna buy mine. You can go to bentroop84.com and buy 100 books, just like our own Kevin Thomas did. So if you want to buy 100 books, go to bentroop84.com. But if you want a free book, call 912-342-7184, 912-342-7184 for my new book, Uncommon Unfinished.
And be caller number 4.
And be caller number 4.
Caller number 4 will get a signed copy of the book. Again, I know BJ and Ben, a lot of work put in that. It's been out, bentroop84.com. You can get it, but we're going to give one away each week leading up to the Super Bowl. Caller number 4 right now, 912-342-7184, and we'll get you that copy. But I know a lot of backstory. You know more about Ben now, BJ, than Ben does researching this book, you said.
Well, yeah, Ben, you're a special person, and I think this story is inspiring. It's uplifting. I think it'll help, shape your perspective on things, and I think it's a great thing to think about, for the holidays as well. But just really incredible to learn more about you. But a lot of people, you've said before, a lot of people know about Ben Troop, the player. A lot of people, you've been in the spotlight for much of your life, but not as many people know about Ben Troop, the person. And it's just such a thoughtful, such a personal, such an authentic read, Ben. I'm really proud of you and excited for people to get to learn more about you.
Listen, BJ, if this is what I got to do to get you to talk complimentary to me, you could just take over this segment. I won't say a word. No, there are certain things in this life that I'm truly, truly humbled by that I can never, ever say thank you enough for. And two, now as a BJ, you writing the book and us coming together wanting to do it. This is one of the highlights of my life, and because I'm giving myself to the world for them to know who I really am. But I'm really, 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 really humbled by it. To everybody that's already purchased the book, that sent in pictures of you holding the book. I appreciate you guys, because when you want to take on an undertaking known as writing a book, you need two things: patience and a BJ Bennett. Because let me tell y'all something. The only thing about it is this. BJ doesn't sleep. So when BJ said, I'm going to send you a rough draft, that's going to be at 2:30 a.m. And he's going to take you at 2:30, 2:35 saying, did you read it yet? No, I'm asleep. But I appreciate it.
So we'll give one away every week. Caller number 4. I think we already got the winner for today. They also make great Christmas presents, holiday season. bentroop84.com. Go pick up your copy today there. bentroop84.com. We're coming right back. Final hour of 3 and Out. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio, streaming live at ESPNCoastal.com, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Good to have you back. Final hour of the show here on this Tuesday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. We'll get to a look at the high-profile coaching jobs that are out there. LSU, Southern Cal. You got Virginia Tech, Washington, Washington State, TCU, a lot of Power 5 jobs that are open out there right now in college football. We'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. But BJ wanted to continue discussion from yesterday where, Braves fans are freaking out about Freddie Freeman. The Braves yesterday signed a backup catcher, $8 million over 2 years. And people going, oh, we can give this money to Freddie. Why won't you re-sign Freddie? Obviously, when you do these deals with a franchise guy, you want to get it right. Because I think, BJ, at this point, you look at, if you're the Braves, you want to make sure you do right by Freddie. And I know you said the first offer was disrespectful in your eyes, but if you're Freddie, you also are looking at this saying, I want this to be the last big deal that I'm probably going to have in Major League Baseball. Maybe I get an option on the end of this thing. Maybe I get another 1 year deal to finish out as I want to with the Braves. But I think from the Braves perspective, you're also looking at it as, how can we pay Freddie and still keep our team competitive in the out years when he's 37, 38 years old and not have a bunch of payroll tied up in him, and maybe be able to give it, maybe not everybody, but have enough to make sure that Max Fried's taken care of, and maybe a guy like Austin Riley who could be a benchmark of your franchise moving forward. If Freddie Freeman is the face now, certainly Ronald Acuna is going to be the face moving forward, and it could be also a guy like an Austin Riley if he sticks around moving forward. So, do you think the Braves are that far off on money? Maybe the total, it looks way off. But average annual value of a contract, how far off do you think they are? And is the holdup simply how much are we willing to pay 38, 39, maybe 40 years old to a guy like Freddie Freeman at the end of this deal?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of thoughts. And Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong. Charlie Morton's going to be 38 next year, and you paid him $15 million for 2022.
You're talking about almost double that at the very least for Freddie.
Well, not necessarily. I think the whole point about average annual value is that it could be front loaded. And the details of the contract is, beyond any of our comprehension or reach at this point. Who knows what it's going to look like? But what I'm saying, at least in theory, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, at least in theory, this could be a front loaded contract where the average annual value may be $27.5 million a year, but you get more of that up front, so that to your point, you aren't paying $30 million to a 39-year-old. But a couple of thoughts. First and foremost, you knew this was going to be the issue. So for all these people I've seen going, oh my God, you're going to have to pay him 170 or 180 million. Like, that's not breaking news. We knew that was going to be the market, and that was going to be the asking price. And we've known that for over a year. So I don't think there should be any shock or surprise over the fact that this is what it's going to cost to sign a MVP and World Series champion from the last 2 years, who is the best player at his position in the game. This is what it costs. And, some people have said, well, I don't want to be paying a guy, even $20 million at 36, 37. Well, that's the reality of what you have to do in this game. Baseball doesn't have a salary cap. Baseball, more so than basketball or football, I believe, allows you sometimes to play a little longer into your 30s. Again, Charlie Morton is getting, 15 or 17 or something, $18 million for next season. And I love Charlie Morton. You guys know how I feel about starting pitchers, but he pitches once every fifth day. So I think Freddie Freeman, if the expectation or the thought was that, and I don't know, none of us know, but if the thought per media reports was, hey, it's going to cost somewhere between 175 or 170 and 190, then to come in at 135 to me is a wasted pitch. That's not a realistic offer. That's not a credible offer. You knew when you made that offer that was not going to be on par with what the expectations were. So I'm not saying, obviously, I understand how negotiations are supposed to work. But I think when this has been a talking point for 2 years and you knew what the market was going to be, I just don't, and obviously all this is above my head, but I just don't understand kind of what the point is in making an offer that's $30 or $40 million less than what the expectation is going to be.
Expectations from a player has nothing to do with what the front office is doing. When we talk about what the market value was, that has nothing to do with what the front office is doing. The one thing that the Braves do better than anybody else is they make sure that they're gonna work within their budget, even if it isn't a salary cap. BJ, it's not disrespectful. I'm gonna tell you why. Every negotiation has to have a starting point. So we go, okay, Goldschmidt got 130. Goldschmidt is 2 years older than Freddie Free. Let's offer him 135, right? Because once again,
let me ask you this, Ben, and this is where I'm trying to learn. Let me ask you this. Put a percentage on it. What was the percent chance that Freddie Freeman was going to take that offer?
In perception, 50%.
No. I'm saying realistically, what was the chance that he was going to sign?
Zero.
Right. So that's what I'm getting at. If there's a 0% chance, why offer it?
Because BJ, that's what negotiations are. We need to get out of this fantasy type. Freddie Freeman is a future Hall of Famer. We would hope that Freddie Freeman is a Braves lifer. Let me tell you what Kevin won't tell you, because I can say it. I'm gonna say this. Kevin wants Freddie Freeman to be a lifer. But if he walks, you did what you're supposed to do with him, right? He gave you MVP, he gave you consistency, he gave you the best first baseman in baseball and a World Series, right? Now, you want to win with Freddie Freeman on the field, right?
I think the problem is also with this, and again, is the Braves have no backup plan if they don't sign him. There's nobody in the minor leagues that's close to being Major League first baseman, and you would have to go out and get one.
And BJ, listen, I will give the media this. Nobody shapes narratives and push. The media shapes the narrative. Social media pushes it. The media creates narratives. The social media pushes it. You know who can't stand that? These front offices. They used to have to deal with this back in there because all you had was newspapers. But who the hell was reading the newspaper? Not us. So Freddie Freeman wants a certain dollar amount. I get that part. The goal is to try to get as close to it as you possibly can. That's the goal. Freddie Freeman wants, Kevin say the years is the problem. BJ, you say the money is the problem. So you're going to be like, I add another year, and maybe you go up there. We said 180. Listen, this is me. You ain't finna go from 135 to 180. They're not gonna do that. 155, 160, maybe. Because the thing about it is I had to learn this. Excuse me. The business of baseball and the players in it are different. The sport and the people that play the sport are different than the people that run it. The people who run sports are upstairs. They're no-namers. You don't know how the owners look. You're not supposed to. Only owner you know how they look is Jerry Jones because he want to be more famous than the players. But the owners always say this: we are doing what's in best interest of the organization. Now, nobody wants to see. Well, it's only one team want to see Freddie Freeman walk, and that's the freaking Yankees. They want everybody to walk so they can get him. But BJ, always remember: if you're selling a car, right? And I'm not saying Freddie Freeman's a car. If you're selling something, you want a certain dollar amount. So you ask for more to hopefully get what you want. In negotiations, you try to offer less than what they wanted and see where they are. Because certain guys say, I want 180. We can give you 135. Take it. That's why you offer it. We say a whole bunch of stuff. Listen, everybody want more money. Everybody can hear my voice on the show, wants more money. That ain't what you took to work here. So what I'm saying is, if everybody got what they wanted, ain't no more baseball. Every guy thinks they worth what Freddie Freeman wants, even if they ain't even on his level. So for the Braves, they're thinking, dude, God, he wants 180? Ugh. What did Goldschmidt get? 130? All right, we give him 135. You're supposed to start with what the guy at your position that set the mark got, and it used to be 130.5. Now it's $5 million more. Now, I know that's nothing in baseball, but I don't see Freddie Freeman walking. I don't see him getting the money he wants. I see them coming to an understanding. And hopefully, man, he's in a Braves uniform next year. Because unfortunately, it ain't Alex Anthopoulos people. It's the people he worked for. He can't offer him 180. He can only offer them what the ownership said they're willing to give. And unfortunately, right now, the Braves are hard bargain type guys, and we'll see what they do.
Well, again, I think at the end of the day, I think if you're Freddie Freeman and you've gotten to this point, and everybody throws around Braves lifer, and keep in mind, Freddie Freeman came up with Chipper Jones ahead of him, and Chipper Jones worked with the Braves multiple times because Chipper Jones wanted his money, but he also wanted to make sure he didn't play on a team that looked a lot like the Pittsburgh Pirates, where, hey, I'm Chipper Jones, I'm getting paid, but they can't afford to give me anybody around me. I think he knows he has that in Atlanta with Acuna and Albies and some of those guys. Now he's looking at it, to me, saying, all right, if I want to be a Braves lifer, where does that take me? Is that the 6th year? Is it a 6th year with a player option for a 7th year to get you to 39, maybe 40 years old, if you want to go that route? I really think, BJ, that if you talk about average annual value, if you want 30 million, if the Braves go up one and get him to average annual value of 30, it's not that far off when you start adding that stuff in there. So I think he really wants the years to get him into those late 30s years. And again, I'm not quite worried about it. I know Braves fans are freaking out about this. And I think the Braves are going to get it done.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I mean, I still feel optimistically that Atlanta's going to get this done. All I'm just to kind of recap my view, very, very quickly here. I just don't understand the value in offering a contract that is not even going to be considered. I understand the negotiation thing, but again, this has been a multi-year preparation period. It's not like this is all of a sudden, we're suddenly at this contractual crossroads. We gotta, kind of start the whole process at zero and low offer, high offer, find the middle. I mean, this has been considered for a long time, and I just don't know what you accomplish by offering a contract that nobody here or listening thinks there was even a 1% chance of him signing it. That's why the parallel I made yesterday kind of feels like when you're up 0-2 as a pitcher and you throw a ball in the dirt. Well, nobody's going to swing at that. It's a waste pitch. So I understand how negotiations work. Ben, I think you make a great point about, look, you can want what you want, but the team's got to do what the team has to do. That wasn't going to get accepted. And if you know that, I kind of think that's wasting time to make an offer that has no chance of being signed.
Well, BJ, once again, we are talking about people who they don't live in our worlds. They ain't seeing who's tweeting at them. They don't got social media. These people own the Braves and other stuff. So Freddie Freeman to them is an employee that wants a raise, that's earned a raise, that deserves a raise. They're giving him a raise. And how many times do you get the raise you thought you were going to get? So I think what happens is we need to stop thinking that the people we are talking about are influenced by us. They are not. Freddie Freeman is just the current player who wants an extension. You know who's coming up? Ozzie, Ronald. And that stuff is in their mind as well. I'm thinking about the future in the present. So I do think they're going to try to give him more. That doesn't mean he's going to get what he wants. Yeah. So we'll see Kevin and BJ, but I just think that when you call it ridiculous, well, 135 million, when you reset the market at your position, it's not ridiculous. It's just that he wants more than that.
I think at the end of the day, I shouldn't be worried about this getting done. The Braves are going to make sure I think that happens, but I think you also don't just say, we'll give you whatever you want in that negotiation. I think it's going to happen. I know Ronald Acuna signed a long-term deal. I've been on record when Braves took a lot of criticism for locking in Acuna 10 years, $100 million. A lot of people said, what are they doing? I believe they're going to renegotiate that somewhere in the middle of that contract and get him more in line with the players of his ilk. I think Ronald wanted the security, and I think just look, it's the Braves will do right by him. He's the next face of their franchise as it's going. But yeah, Freddie Freeman, Braves fans getting nervous. You hear Yankees are out there. Look, a lot of that is just posturing. I think to get a deal done, I think it's going to happen, and he will be a Atlanta Braves. I think it's just a matter of get the years right, and he will be an Atlanta Brave. We got more to come here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. A lot of high-profile jobs out there as Virginia Tech comes open today, but you got Southern Cal, you got LSU out there on the block as openings. How attractive are those high-profile jobs when you look around college football? We'll get to that when we return here on 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It is 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you were with us here on this Tuesday. A lot to get to. Again, another P5 job opening today. Virginia Tech comes open as they move on from Justin Fuente. You've got positions open in pretty much every conference right now on the P5 level, but you got the high-profile ones like your LSUs, your Southern Cals out there. You've got Virginia Tech, Washington State, TCU out there. BJ, where do you think the appeal is on some of these gigs right there? I mean, we talked about Virginia Tech. Obviously, it's a recruiting challenge. You get LSU, hot job, good recruiting school. Southern Cal, hot job, good recruiting school. But it also comes with the fact that, hey, you very well could be fired in 3 years if you don't win a national championship, and especially there in the SEC, if you don't win a championship in the West, maybe the toughest division right now in college football, or at least the most balanced division in college football.
Yeah, I'm always interested to see, and sometimes you hear answers in the press conference. Sometimes you never get kind of a direct answer, but I'm always interested in what coaches consider when they weigh job opportunities, because you look at a place like LSU, for example. I mean, some of the speculation as to what the salary might be, what, 7, 8, more than that, $1 million per year. But how do you kind of manage that versus the expectations where, correct me if I'm wrong, the last 3 coaches who were there all won national championships. So that's going to be the standard. And you're going into a division where not only do you have Alabama there, you have Texas A&M there, you have Ole Miss there, you have Auburn there. Every single year you play Florida as your crossover. And there will be some years where you play Florida and Georgia. So yes, you're probably getting paid more than elsewhere. Yes, the prestige is there, but how do you deal with the expectations of you better win a national championship when you play Alabama, Auburn, Texas A&M, and Florida just to start with every year? And, a program like USC to me is fascinating because to me, that's one of the biggest brands in college sports, but it's been a minute since you've been dominant, since you've been at the top of that, top of that stage in college football. And how do you assess the rebuilding process? So whether it's profile and sort of the perception of the team, the program, whether it's money, whether it's location. Sticking with the Southern Cal thing, they just fired a coach who went, 50, whatever Clay Helton was, 56-24 or something crazy like that. He got fired. I mean, Justin Fuente had a winning record at Virginia Tech, 43-31. So you understand the pressure, you understand the expectations. How do you find that balance, and kind of what do you consider if you're a candidate?
I think you have to come in with enough prestige to be able to shape that balance, because BJ, when you think about it, is the appeal there? Of course it is. Like, it's still USC. It's still, Virginia Tech, LSU. But I think sometimes perception and reality has really gotten us all the way out of whack when it comes to these teams. What do USC want? They want Reggie Bush, Lindell White, Troy Polamalu, and Matt Leinart. That's not happening. Like, a coach will come in and go, that's not happening. Those were some of the dynasty years. Virginia Tech, what are you looking for? Can I compete with this ACC right now? Yes. I can come in and compete right now. Right now. When you talk about LSU, that's the one. Because number one, your expectation is to win a natty. Coach O might be I would rank him 3. When you talk about Les Miles and Nick Saban, his team was better than both of theirs when they won it. But he still won it. When you talk about a TCU, it's, hey, man, you want the team still in the Big 12 that's going to be no more Texas, no more Oklahoma. So that might be the one, because now there are no excuses, because everybody's kind of the same when you take those 2 teams out. But I do think that is the appeal there, yes. I will say, and this is why the appeal is there. Perception when it comes to these schools is we good enough to win it all. The reality is most of them can't. Like, they just can't. Virginia Tech got a shot to win the ACC, but unless they undefeated winning the ACC and with extended playoff, Kevin and BJ, they got a shot to make it in. But I think sometimes these expectations, and BJ, we talk about this a lot, they really, really think that TCU can win it all. And I'm like, y'all had LaDainian Tomlinson. Like, that's y'all greatest player ever. It's not happening. At a Virginia Tech, they're saying, look, we gotta, because before you can win, you gotta boost the reputation of the school. You got to be talked about nationally. So the first thing this coach can do, can I boost the reputation? Yep. Am I a big enough name coach to help out recruiting? Check. Can you win? But you won't jump to number 3 first, because I do think the appeal is there. But
I think that's important. But no, but I think it's important. It's not just can you win. Will they give you time to win?
Yes.
I think again, a TCU, Gary Patterson, he's a guy that had his opportunities to go to other jobs, stayed at TCU, stayed there a long time, had them consistent in what they were doing. I know the last few years it hadn't necessarily gone the way they liked, but a good stretch run there where they were consistently winning and had their name in the discussion. You're still in a Power 5 conference there in the Big 12, and they will give you time to win. Right? It won't be if you aren't competing for the championship in 2 years, we're going to start the hot seat talk. And how often do we see that in the SEC these days? I mean, Vanderbilt, for crying out loud. Derek Mason got 5 seasons, or not even that, 4 seasons to try to win at Vanderbilt, and he just a little bit, and he didn't. So I think that you get certain expectations. I think, to me, Virginia Tech could be very attractive. Why? Because nobody in the Coastal Division is looking like a beast of anything. They've had 7 different winners in 7 years in that conference. To me, that's one where you can go in and you can win, and win fairly early. TCU could probably, especially with Texas and Oklahoma on the way out, you might be able to go in and win fairly early. I think USC is attractive. Why? California, LA, Pac-12, you could probably win pretty early there at Southern Cal. And I don't know if it's national championship or bust quite yet there at Southern Cal. I think they want to compete for the Pac-12, and I think you can do that. LSU, they just fired a coach midseason who won a national championship a year and a half ago. That's how quickly the tide turned there with Ed Orgeron. I know there were some other things that went into that, but the facts are, in the SEC West, you have now had not one, but 2 examples of coaches winning a national championship, and less than 2 years later, they were done. They were gone. I think that weighs on some guys. Not everybody. Some guys say, hey, I want the SEC and all that comes with it. Good. But I think some guys might look at it and say, for my family, for stability, is that where I want to go and potentially be out of a job in 2 or 3 years?
Well, and, at LSU, you're going to be at a place, like you said, where the championship expectations are immediate, are absolutely immediate. And you're in a division with Nick Saban, with Lane Kiffin, with Jimbo Fisher, with Mike Leach. I mean, just to name a few. And, it's an interesting thing because you look at the SEC, when everybody's investing $100 million a year and everybody's got a high-profile coach and everybody's got a stadium that seats 90,000, well, somebody's got to lose. And, Vanderbilt can only lose so many games, I mean, somebody's got to lose. And that's kind of the interesting aspect of the SEC West in particular, where, yes, everybody wants to be there. Yes, that's the, biggest spotlight there is in college football. But, man, I mean, you can realistically look at an LSU schedule or an Ole Miss schedule or a Texas A&M schedule and say, you could go 6-6 and still have some big wins. You could go 5-7 and still beat multiple top 25 teams. Something's got to give. And I think when you factor in that Oklahoma and Texas are now coming in, I mean, I don't know how the divisions or all that's going to work, but theoretically, if you're the head coach at LSU, could you look at your schedule and in some form see Alabama, Texas A&M, Auburn, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas? I mean, it's like, that is the prestige that is unrivaled. Yes, that is, one of the great jobs in college football, one of the great programs. But is it realistic to expect to maintain success at the highest level when everybody else in your division has the same resources?
I think the main thing for a coach that we ain't factoring in is, am I the reason why the team matters, or does the team matter and I help boost that? Like you look at Michigan and Harbaugh. Michigan matters, but he helps them matter more because of who he is. He's not going to win it. He's not going to win it. But sometimes I think we can't judge. It's like judging every NBA player on LeBron's success. No, I'm gonna judge every number 1 overall pick on LeBron. No, that can't be the barometer. So I do think these teams have appeal because they have money to spend. They can get. I'm getting a boost in salary.
A huge one.
Because think about this. It's like this. Most people in life want to make $100,000. $100,000 don't come with 9 to 5 responsibilities. You know how much money you make? You're going to have to deal with a lot making that type of money. Some of these coaches are inheriting a lot. And sometimes we don't factor it in. I mean, Gary Patterson, what he did at TCU, we frowned upon it. That's the best you can do at TCU. Coach Helton, he got USC back out of the dark ages. Not enough. Didn't win it. Didn't win the Pac-12 enough. Didn't win. Wasn't constantly in the national media. So I think what is BJ. I think sometimes they're meeting the expectation, but they're moving the goalposts with these coaches after they get them. So I do think all of them are appealing, but I just think that it's like, once again, we're a fly on the wall when it comes to these meetings. We're in Virginia Tech, man. I think we got a shot to win it all. I go, excuse me, that's not happening. Y'all not gonna win it all. But Coach Beamer can come and boost the reputation. You got to hear about his daddy every day, but he can boost it. And it won't be good enough. Miami's of the world, the LSU's of the world, the USC's of the world. Now you're talking about winning nationals. It ain't too many coaches in America that's gonna win you a natty. That's just not going to happen. So I do think it does have its appeal, but I think these fan bases and social media and these national beat writers got a total different perspective of what's actually going to happen. But unfortunately, the same way the front office of the Braves don't listen to that nonsense, I believe these teams are being shaped by these narratives going on. And I don't think that's the reality of these teams moving forward.
Yeah, a lot of big name jobs that are going to be open. And again, with the rush to fill some of these, with that early national signing day, how many of these could be filled within the next week or two as we get down to the last week or so of the regular season? Could be a lot of coaching announcements made right after Rivalry Saturday across college football to get those guys in recruiting and hit that December 15th mark for the early signing period. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. Great conversation earlier today with Joe Hamilton talking about the state of Georgia Tech football. We'll hear from him next. It's on 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Tuesday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Georgia Tech and Notre Dame coming up this weekend. Our next guest, a Georgia Tech legend at quarterback, Heisman Trophy runner-up. Also had a tremendous game against Notre Dame in '99 in the Gator Bowl, 3 touchdown passes, and caught one from Joe Burns in that game. Joe Hamilton joining us here on 3 and Out. Joe, welcome to the show. How are you?
Man, glad to be here, man. I'm doing outstanding. Can't wait, man.
I know. What is it about playing Notre Dame? Obviously, you're the '99 Gator Bowl. It went really well for you there in Jacksonville. What does it kind of mean? Does it still have that same mystique when it says, hey, Notre Dame's on the schedule this week?
Well, it means that it's Notre Dame on the schedule this week. And I remember back when I played there in 1997, the mystique, it's the prestige, it's the Luke Rockne touchdown, Jesus. And sometimes when you get up in that stadium, it's you're starstruck, and it takes a little bit of a time for you to get used to it. So it's all good, man. And I cherish those times, man. I look forward to it as far as Saturday night.
Joe, take us back to that '99 bowl game in Jacksonville where you put on a show. You were co-MVP, order a couple of touchdown passes, but you catch a touchdown pass early. And look, fans have seen you do everything, but that was something else. And then you guys end up winning by a touchdown. What was that game like?
Well, because I'm from South Carolina, and and we don't necessarily have a hometown team. I grew up Tony Rice. I grew up in Lou Holtz and all those Jerome Bettis and Ricky Waters and all those guys that that was my safe haven. But at that particular time, that I wanted to beat Notre Dame. Obviously, because we went up there in '97, and I kind of let the team down because I was in starstruck, and then coming into that with Archer Denson, I think it was a quarterback Jarius Jackson, and those guys. It was a dream come true. It was a competitive deal to where it's just not a bowl game. It's a good matchup, and if you happen to beat this team, you can go down in the history as you beat the great Notre Dame. Bottom line.
And Joe, when you think about this team this year, and kind of like the season they had up and down, had a chance to beat Clemson. I mean, it looked really, really impressive against UNC in Mercedes-Benz Dome. Had some games they could have won, late in the games. What does a win against a Notre Dame team, even this late in the season, does for this program moving forward?
Oh my goodness! You talking about what does a win do? Well, a win solves it all. So you thinking big time win. I'm thinking more so, hang in there, show you valiant, show you can compete, show you're not giving up on the season, and those type of things as far as little bit of incremental steps. But the Yellow Jackets, have been a little bit of a disappointment as far as, what the bar was set as, what the expectations were. It's kind of low. So just hanging in there. I don't want to be the guy that's going to be ever on the top of Georgia Tech talking about moral victories. And anything less than winning is a moral victory, and it's a disappointing season.
And Joe, talk about that with Jeff Collins. Obviously, it was a rebuild going from one style of offense to what they were trying to do now. But as you said, they haven't been able to finish some games. Defensively, they've been let down a few times. So, what is it here that Jeff Collins? I know he continues to say, "Look, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. We got to get over that hump." What are you seeing on the field that would make you think that it is, they're right there and that they are very close to turning it around?
Nothing on the field that I'm seeing that as far as saying that the Yellow Jackets are turning it around. But off the field, when you're talking about checking some boxes, recruiting, making sure you bring in and galvanizing the recruiting base or the fan base, letting alumni like myself and Calvin Johnson, those guys come back around, those are good things. But when you talk about wins and losses, that's what you're going to be judged by. And when I look at our team, the Yellow Jackets, time, at least for the last 4 or 5 weeks, there are no adjustments. There are no in-game. There are no halftime adjustments. The box of checking is coaching and our identity. That's where I'm most disappointed in, that I can't tell you that if somebody, one of my close friends or anybody, was to say, what's the identity of this team this year, even in a rebuild, what is it? I can't tell you. that's a little disappointing.
Joe, you've seen a couple of young quarterbacks for Georgia Tech. You've seen, obviously, Jeff Sims. When you're young at that position and you're experiencing the game on the fly, what are some of the things you have to do to take that next step and become more consistent, if you will, at that position?
Well, you're going to have to sit down in your chair. You're going to have to sit down in your room. You're going to have to sit down on your iPad and just self-evaluate, self-scout, and understand that turnovers and can't be accepted. You need to get us out of bad plays into good plays if you want to be a really, really good quarterback. And you're going to have to be a utility guy. A lot of Evelyn 10 guys do and maximize their abilities, and that's what it's going to be. And that's another thing you alluded to. Is it on the quarterback? Is it those guys' development? Is Coach Patino doing his due diligence as far as developing those guys? I'm not here to judge those type things, but it's going to take everything. Game experience. I think Jeff Sims is a better quarterback, talented-wise, than Jordan Yates. But Jeff Sims is yet to be consistent in our eyes and say, let's lead you the guys to lead us into the future. So those are some of the type things that when you manipulate the quarterback room, talking to these guys and let them know expectations are here. You're doing this and you're doing that. And sometimes it's very, very tough conversations.
Joe, you were a guy that obviously when you talk about you had full nuance of the offense. They gave you a chance to go out there and be yourself, and your instincts was able to take over on top of knowing the offense. In today's college football, even with Georgia Tech, they don't give them enough time to go out there and let instincts take over. How important is to make the offense simple so that maybe their instincts can take over and maybe they can play a little better?
Yeah, that's very, very important, but it's in context because when you're dealing with the big boys, Alabama, the Floridas, Georgia, and Ohio State, and guys that's going to be in the college football playoff, yeah, you can simplify it, but he's going to have to show some maturity. Now when you talk about ACC Coastal and trying to get with Jeff Sims and Jordan Yates are right now, where they're trying to be, is just get us on a simplified game plan to where you can be successful, you can succeed, and this is how we can win. But in big boy league, you're going to have to do way more than that. Even talking about the big boys, I'm talking about Stetson Bennett, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, all those guys now. It's going to be a big boy league. So now what can you eat? What can you digest as a quarterback as far as offensive coordinator, head coach? How can you, enhance my program? Are you a leader? Are you doing those little things? And it's according to where you are as a program, that way you can give it over to a quarterback. Because when you give over your program to a quarterback, it's a delicate deal. I don't know one head coach right now that's giving over their program to a quarterback this season. It's been done before, but I don't know who has total control of a program as a quarterback position right now in college football.
Joe Hamilton joining us here on 3 and Out. And Joe, obviously you had a chance to play with some special players there at Georgia Tech. When you see Jahmyr Gibbs, what do you see in that young man and what the future holds for him?
Well, they frowned upon me and they looked at me like I was crazy when Coach Tashard Choice told me very, very long ago in the first couple of practices of Jahmyr Gibbs that he's an Alvin Kamara in clone. Can run the route tree, return kick, soft hands, in between the tackles, do it all type of back, and that's what he is. There's nothing can be said more about Jahmyr Gibbs, and I got the ultimate respect for Coach Tashard Choice and how he's handling his quarterback room. I said, God, I knew you
Welcome
guys
back into the Danny Britt Show right here on
Good to have you back here, 3 and Out. Kevin, BJ, and Ben got a little Tuesday night action going on tonight. 3 games in the MAC. Also, week 3 of the college football playoff poll coming up tonight. Guys, I don't know if we're going to see a lot of change in the poll this week. Oklahoma lost, but they were kind of back in the list, as it were. So nobody for, I think, really to jump over them. They're going to slide back, but you have Cincinnati. Do they stick at 5? I saw a couple of, I think Andrea Adelson was quoted on ESPN earlier saying she'll be interested to see if Michigan jumps Cincinnati to get to 5 after their win over Penn State. So a little bit of intrigue, but I think the top 4 are going to stay the same.
Yeah, for the most part, I think you know what you're going to get. That will be interesting with 1-loss Michigan and undefeated Cincinnati, and that clearly would not be a good sign for Cincinnati if they get jumped by Michigan. That would not only move them down, but I think that would infer that there would be the possibility that something like that could happen again moving forward. Now, granted, Cincinnati was not overly impressive in their win over USF, but still, for an undefeated team with the resume they have, I think you would be a little perplexed if Michigan jumps you, albeit with a good win over Penn State. But, yeah, I don't know that we're going to see anything drastic tonight, but listen, we only have so much college football left. You guys, I mean, you have Eastern Michigan and Western Michigan tonight. These are good. I love them action. So you got 3 games tonight, not a little bit of action, as you said, Kevin, a lot of action on the schedule for tonight. So between 3 MAC games and the college football playoff poll, there's a lot going on in college football tonight.
I will not be watching action, BJ. I will let you break it down for me tomorrow. You know, who's going to be the next this and the next that. But the college football playoff, it is guaranteed to be overreaction, guaranteed for Cincinnati to realize, hey, man, are we that good? Yes. But unfortunately, to win the hearts and minds and, appreciation of the college football playoff committee, you're number 5, man. You was right there. Like, yeah, that's like almost dunking. No, you didn't. No, you're almost there until you left your feet and tried to put the ball in the hoop. But I am looking forward to seeing them tonight.
I think if Michigan jumps them, BJ, it would obviously infer that the winner of Ohio State, Michigan would stay in front of them. And it would take something like Oregon losing in the Pac-12. Probably even they would have to not lose. I don't know, maybe if they lost in the Pac-12 championship game, that might bump them down. But I think they would need them to lose in the regular season to give them a chance to do that. But I think if Michigan does jump them, that would infer that the winner of Ohio State, Michigan would stay in or get in, as the case would be for Michigan, and Cincinnati probably would still move no closer, as if it was Ohio State, they probably would just slide down to that number 5 spot with a loss to potentially number 5 in the poll.
Well, and we're all playing the game of what if this happens, what if that happens, what if this scenario comes into play. I mean, Ben, you and Kevin have both said, regardless of what happens, look for Cincinnati to stay at 5. So it's interesting to look at what could be and the hypotheticals that are out there. But Kevin, as you've said before too, more times than not, when there's poll controversy, the games work it all out so that it at least makes somewhat of kind of logical sense. But a lot of football still left.
Brands versus production. If it's brands, BJ, Cincinnati ain't in. If it's production, they will be one of the top 4 teams. And what I know, they will not be number 4 today because, Kevin, nothing will be stopping them from staying at that position.
Yeah, I think the intrigue is if Michigan jumps over them or not in this latest poll based on, I guess, the impressiveness of beating 3-loss now Penn State or staying in an unimpressive fashion, undefeated, as you said, BJ, there with Cincinnati. Either way, we'll break it all down for you tomorrow here on the show and get poll number 3 all broken down for you here as we hit midweek for this next week of college football. It's 3 and Out